Hey, so I thought today I should finish this Maelstrom thing that I started a few weeks ago. So this is the render that I did yesterday. I'm hoping to get similar result today. So okay, let's get started. I have my simulation cached already, and as I said before, we have this source on the sides, and if you group it and you blast it, let's preview the velocity. Yeah, so it looks much better, right? But then if you go to fluid particle surface, you're gonna notice that even though the points are blasted, they're still there, right? The surface still there. So on fluid compress, there's this cool bandwidth, and it might help you. So if you start increasing it, see, it's starting to disappear. Yeah, that's still not enough. Not enough. Okay, so for me it looks like 8 is enough. However, if your particle separation will be smaller, you will have to increase the cool bandwidth as well. Okay, so I have a surface, so let's try to render it. So I will create the camera, so you can do control click on the camera, and then you can also do render, create mantra node, mantra PBR. Oh, I have mantra here already. Okay, I'll remove the old guy. So in objects, I will force this guy, and all the lights I have. Oh, actually, we don't have any, so maybe create one. And this will be environment light. And I want to go to environment map, and I want to pick one of the hdrs, maybe the one with the sky. Okay, by the way, if sometimes this might be ticked, I believe when you create skylight, when this is ticked, you cannot pick the environment map, so you have to untick that to be able to. Okay, so let's render this. First of all, I don't want to have any thickness at all, and we actually have thick fluid, right? So how can we deal with that? Because what I want is just to have the top surface, not the inner one, on not the side ones as well. So the way I can do it, since this is like a circle, I can say that create maybe the vector p first and set it to px 0 pz. So this will be basically a radius, and say if the length of p is less, and I know this is 19, then remove the point. So, oh, actually the other way, if it's greater. Okay, so this removed the sides, so that's great. And the next thing I can do, clip. Oh, actually first I have to convert it, because as you can see, I have a weird problem. At some point it all disappears, because you have to convert it to actual polygons, because this is a surface polygon soup. So now you can clip the bottom. So how do I get rid of the top one? You cannot just select it, right? You can maybe remove it by normals, but what you can also do is do assemble and create packed geometry. This will create you 2 points because there are 2 geometries that are connected, and then you have to remove one of them. So if you just remove point 1, this is what we want to remove, the bottom part. It might not work for all the frames. So what we'll do instead is go to spreadsheets, see what's the position, and do if the position of y, if it's less than minus 4.5 maybe, then remove point. So this should remove us the bottom part. And after that I will do unpack to make sure I'm back to have all the points, and then just save the cache. Okay, so let's go to last frame and see what we have now. Maybe zoom in a little bit. Okay, so definitely we don't have any thickness. However, we don't have any colors. So let's go to material, and whenever you create anything from the chef tool, it should also create you a material. So I have the basic liquid. So I will disable the refraction because I don't need it. I don't have any thickness. Why would I need refraction? And also I'm starting to getting some colors, but that's not enough. I will say multiplied by maybe 5 times. Okay, I like it much better. So next thing would be to create maybe some alpha, a null point triangle, and also do this vector p, which will be px0 pz, and to float range and fit the length of this p is between 0 and 19 because I lived at 19, right? And I have to fit it to 0 and 1 to use it in a ramp, and say for now, actually just straight to alpha, channel ramp, call it alpha by range. So press this guy. Yeah. So I will do something like this. And on the bottom, you can do exactly the same thing. Create another range and fit this time only the position y, and let's do 0 minus 5, I'm not sure, 0 1 be that, and multiply the existing with another, I will just call it alpha, okay, alpha y. Okay, so yeah, this should go the other way, but it's not enough. Oh, that's actually minus 10. Yeah, so render this guy. Okay, way better. Awesome. Okay, but this is still too uniform, I would say. I mean, the colors are not that great, at least for me. So what I will do, I'll go back right here and do object merge, drag and drop this guy, Control X, change to minimum distance, and do vector p is the point position of the first input, then create float range, and this will be fit the length of current position minus this position, and this is between something, I don't know, 0, 2, and then just say a color will be ramp, channel ramp, called depth using this range. So let's see what we have. So this way it might be a little bit cheesy, but what it's doing, right? So you're just using this flat collision, but you can create some kind of depth. So instead of doing just straight to the color, maybe multiply that and render it. Okay, so this is way better, right? Yeah, this is pretty interesting. So the last thing I'll do is create a circle, make it 19, and move it somewhere over here. Yeah. Polygon, a lot of divisions, extrude, do transform, global, and scale. And then do a VOP, to add some noise, and get maybe the length of the position, and do displace along normal, the normalize, not the length, and anti-aliased flow noise. So plug it into right over here and use that as amount right over here. I will also fit it because I want to displace only inside. So this is 7.8. I will copy that to destination maximum, or maybe the other way. Okay, I had to copy the values that worked for me in previous example, but now as you can see it's all displacing inwards only, so that's awesome. You can do point triangle and say that alpha is 0 here, and do attribute transfer. So from this guy to our guy, oh, that's way too much, alpha, distance threshold 0, and okay, so let's see what we have. Okay, way better, awesome. So one last thing I would add is actually change it also the colors on the sides, because it actually, I like this dark thing in the middle, but it's way too bright. So maybe one more VOP just to create the color. So anti-aliased flow noise, position to position, also do multiply constant, and I will multiply time by something lower than 0.25, plug it to flow, this way it will be animated. This is probably not enough geometry, so maybe subdivide it. Oh, we still have let's do don't extrude. Yeah, we only need the sides, so this is probably too much, and maybe clamp it just in case. So it's even animated, so that's awesome. You should probably also animate this guy as well, right? So do multiply constant, use this time, where is time? Time 0.3 this time, and plug it to flow, so it's somehow it's animated, it's not as boring. And then just do attribute transfer again, but I want to use different radius, so I will do color, and here I will increase the radius. So if I render it now, yeah, Okay, it actually looks way better than my render that I did over here. I like this one much better, although it's too dark, so I'll just can multiply that color by 8 probably. Yeah, great. One last thing, let's add motion blur. Maybe first do render without motion blur, 1 frame. Click on this guy to save 1 frame, then take motion blur to see if it's working. Yeah, it is. And if you're not happy with your motion blur and you want to have it blurred even more, you do. First you have to make sure that you have velocity blur here, but since we created this tool using the shelf tool, you will have velocity blur always on default. If when you create a new geometry node, the velocity blur is off, and you can just do multiply just velocity times maybe 7. Okay, so this is 7 and this is 1. And one last thing about Mantra. So also by default, usually you're gonna use PBR, right? Physically based rendering. And default settings are rather high. So even though we are using reflections, we don't need as many max ray samples. And if I lower this like to 2, you'll notice there like how fast it is. Because this is the max ray sample, it just how many objects it will hit. So especially right now when I have only 1 object, you don't need that many ray samples. If you're gonna have bigger scenes with a lot of objects, you will notice how slow your renders will be. So you can, if you don't care about hyper real renders and great awesome lightning, just lower this down and you will notice it still looks good. I think that will be it for now, because it was long anyways and I said this will be a short video. So that's it for this effect. I hope you guys liked it and see you guys soon.